Imagine this. A man worth millions, dressed in a tailored suit, steps off the elevator into the silent, dimly lit lobby of his high-rise office building. It's 3 a.m. and the world outside is asleep. But as he walks past the front desk, something catches his eye: a janitor, curled up on the cold, hard floor, fast asleep. This isn't just any janitor. This is someone whose story will unravel in the most unexpected way. A story that will challenge everything the millionaire thought he knew about love, life, and the invisible lines that divide us. This is not your typical rags to riches tale. This is a story about two people from completely different worlds, brought together by a single moment that defies logic, societal norms, and even fate itself. It's a story that will make you question the meaning of true connection, the power of vulnerability, and the idea that love can be found in the most unlikely places. But here's the twist: this isn't just a love story. It's a mystery, a journey, and a revelation that will leave you breathless. In the first 30 seconds of this video, I want you to ask yourself, what would you do if you were the millionaire? Would you walk past the janitor, oblivious to their existence? Or would you stop, kneel down, and see the human being behind the uniform? This story isn't just about them, it's about you. It's about the choices we make, the judgments we carry, and the moments that have the power to change our lives forever. Let me introduce you to our two main characters. First, there's Ethan Carter, the millionaire. He's the CEO of a tech empire, a man who's built his life on discipline, ambition, and a relentless drive to succeed. But beneath the polished exterior lies a void, a loneliness that no amount of money or success can fill. Then there's Maria Gonzalez, the janitor. She's a single mother working 2 jobs to make ends meet, her dreams buried under the weight of responsibility. She's invisible to most, but her story is one of resilience, hope, and an unshakable belief in the goodness of people. Now, here's where it gets interesting. That night, when Ethan sees Maria sleeping on the floor, something inside him shifts. It's not pity. It's not guilt. It's something deeper, something he can't quite explain. And as he kneels down to wake her, he has no idea that this simple act will set off a chain of events that will change both of their lives forever. But I'm not going to give you all the answers right now. Because here's the thing, this story isn't just about what happens next. It's about why it happens. It's about the invisible forces that bring people together, the moments that define us, and the power of human connection in a world that often feels disconnected. So, if you're ready to dive into a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat, a story that will make you laugh, cry, and question everything you thought you knew about love and life, then keep watching. Because by the end of this video, you're going to get the answers you've been searching for. You're going to understand why this moment mattered, why these two people mattered, and why their story is one that needs to be told. But before we go any further, I want you to do something for me. I want you to think about the last time you truly connected with someone who was different from you, someone who challenged your assumptions, someone who made you see the world in a new way. Hold on to that feeling, because that's what this story is all about. Now, let's rewind to that night in the lobby. Ethan is standing there, staring at Maria, his mind racing. What does he do next? Does he walk away or does he stay? And if he stays, what happens when she wakes up? The answers are coming, but first, let's set the stage. Let's talk about the moments that led to this one, the choices that brought them here, and the mystery that will keep you hooked until the very end. Because here's the truth, this isn't just their story. It's yours too. And by the time we're done, you're going to see the world and maybe even yourself in a whole new light. So, don't go anywhere. The best is yet to come. End of introduction on a cliffhanger. What happens next? What secrets lie beneath the surface of this unlikely encounter? And how will it change their lives and maybe even yours? Stick around because the story is just getting started. And trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. To understand the gravity of that moment in the lobby, we need to rewind and step into the lives of Ethan and Maria long before their paths crossed. Ethan Carter wasn't always the polished, self-assured millionaire we see today. He grew up in a small Midwestern town, the son of a factory worker and a schoolteacher. His childhood was marked by scarcity, but also by an unyielding determination to rise above it. He was the kid who stayed up late studying while his friends played video games, the teenager who mowed lawns and delivered newspapers to save for college. By the time he graduated at the top of his class from an Ivy League university, he had already set his sights on building something extraordinary. His tech startup, launched in a cramped garage with a handful of friends, became a billion-dollar empire within a decade. But success came at a cost. Ethan's relentless drive left little room for relationships, and his personal life became a series of fleeting connections and empty conversations. He had everything the world told him he should want: money, power, prestige, but none of it filled the quiet ache of loneliness that followed him like a shadow. Maria Gonzalez, on the other hand, had a life that was worlds apart from Ethan's. Born to immigrant parents in a bustling city, she learned early on the value of hard work and resilience. Her father worked construction, her mother cleaned houses, and together they instilled in Maria a deep sense of pride and responsibility. But life had a way of testing her. By the time she was 25, Maria was a single mother to a bright-eyed little girl named Sophia. Her dreams of becoming a teacher were put on hold as she juggled 2 jobs to keep a roof over their heads. During the day, she worked as a cafeteria worker at a local school, and at night, she cleaned office buildings downtown. It was grueling work, but Maria never complained. She found joy in the small moments, reading bedtime stories to Sophia, dancing in their tiny kitchen to old salsa records, and dreaming of a future where they could breathe a little easier. The night Ethan found Maria sleeping on the floor wasn't just another late night at the office for him. He had been working tirelessly on a deal that could make or break his company, a deal that had consumed him for months. The pressure was immense, and sleep had become a luxury he couldn't afford. As he stepped off the elevator, his mind was racing with spreadsheets, contracts, and deadlines. But then he saw her. Maria, curled up on the floor with her jacket as a pillow, her cleaning cart parked beside her. For a moment, he froze. He had walked past janitors countless times before, barely registering their presence. But something about this moment was different. Maybe it was the vulnerability of seeing someone so exposed, so human, in a place that felt so sterile and impersonal. Or maybe it was the way she reminded him of his own mother, who had worked nights as a custodian to put food on the table. Whatever it was, it stirred something deep within him. Ethan knelt down and gently shook Maria's shoulder. She woke with a start, her eyes wide with surprise and a hint of fear. "I'm sorry," he said quickly, holding up his hands in a gesture of reassurance. "I didn't mean to scare you. Are you okay?" Maria blinked, trying to process the sight of a man in an expensive suit kneeling beside her. "I'm fine," she said, her voice soft but steady. I must have dozed off. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll get back to work." She started to get up, but Ethan stopped her. "No, don't apologize. You don't have to explain yourself to me. I wanted to make sure you were okay." There was an awkward silence as they looked at each other. 2 people from completely different worlds, unsure of what to say next. That moment could have been the end of it. Ethan could have walked away, and Maria could have gone back to her work, and their lives would have continued on their separate paths. But fate or something else had other plans. As Ethan stood to leave, he noticed a small photo tucked into the corner of Maria's cleaning cart. It was a picture of a little girl, smiling brightly, her arms wrapped around a stuffed bear. "Is that your daughter?" he asked, his voice softer now. Maria nodded, a hint of pride breaking through her exhaustion. "Yes, that's Sophia. She's 6. Ethan felt a lump form in his throat. He didn't know why, but he couldn't stop himself from asking, Do you need anything?" "Anything at all?" Maria hesitated, her guard momentarily slipping. I just wish I had more time with her," she admitted. "But I'm doing the best I can." That conversation marked the beginning of something neither of them could have anticipated. Over the next few weeks, Ethan found himself thinking about Maria more and more. He started noticing the cleaning staff in his building, the people who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to keep everything running smoothly. He began to question the way he had been living his life, the walls he had built around himself, and the things he had been chasing without ever really knowing why. Meanwhile, Maria couldn't shake the memory of the man who had shown her kindness in a moment when she least expected it. She didn't know his name or his story, but something about him stayed with her, a glimmer of hope in the midst of her struggles. But this is just the beginning. As their lives begin to intertwine in ways neither of them could have predicted, new questions arise. What secrets is Ethan hiding behind his polished exterior? What challenges is Maria facing that she hasn't shared with anyone? And what forces are at play, pulling them together in ways that defy logic and reason? The answers lie ahead, but for now, the mystery deepens, the tension builds, and the story unfolds in ways that will keep you hooked until the very end. As we delve deeper into their lives, we'll uncover hidden truths, unexpected connections, and moments that will challenge everything you thought you knew about love, life, and the power of human connection. But remember, this isn't just their story, it's yours too. So stay with me, because the best is yet to come. The days turned into weeks. Ethan found himself increasingly preoccupied with thoughts of Maria. It wasn't just curiosity or guilt that drove him. It was something deeper, something he couldn't quite put into words. He began to make excuses to stay late at the office, hoping to catch a glimpse of her during her nightly rounds. One evening, as he lingered in the lobby, he saw her pushing her cleaning cart toward the elevators. Without thinking, he approached her. "Maria," he said, his voice tentative but warm. "I was wondering if you'd like to join me for a cup of coffee. There's a 24-hour diner down the street." "My treat." Maria hesitated, her eyes narrowing slightly as she studied him. She had learned to be cautious, to protect herself and Sophia from the uncertainties of the world. But there was something about Ethan, something in his eyes, in the way he carried himself that made her feel safe. "Okay," she said finally, her voice soft but steady. "But just for a little while. I have work to finish." That first conversation over coffee was awkward at first, filled with long pauses and hesitant smiles. But as they began to share pieces of their lives, something shifted. Ethan told her about his childhood, about the sacrifices his parents had made to give him a better life. Maria opened up about Sophia, about her dreams of going back to school, and about the challenges of raising a child on her own. They talked for hours, the diner's fluorescent lights casting a warm glow over their table. By the time they left, Ethan felt a sense of connection he hadn't experienced in years. For Maria, it was a reminder that kindness still existed in the world, even in the most unexpected places. But just as their friendship began to blossom, an unexpected twist threatened to unravel everything. One night, as Ethan was leaving the office, he noticed a man lingering near the building's entrance. He was dressed in a dark hoodie, his face partially obscured, and there was something about his demeanor that set off alarm bells in Ethan's mind. As Ethan approached, the man turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows. Ethan shook off the encounter, chalking it up to paranoia, but the next day, he received an anonymous email. The subject line read, "You don't know who you're dealing with." The message was short but chilling. "Stay away from her. She's not who you think she is." Ethan's heart raced as he read the words over and over. Who was this person? What did they mean? And how did they know about Maria? He considered confronting her, but something held him back. He didn't want to scare her or make her feel like she was in danger. Instead, he decided to dig deeper, to find out more about the woman who had somehow become so important to him. What he discovered would shake him to his core. Through a series of discreet inquiries, Ethan learned that Maria's past was far more complicated than she had let on. Years ago, she had been married to a man named Carlos, a charismatic but volatile figure who had ties to a local crime syndicate. Their marriage had ended in disaster, with Carlos disappearing under mysterious circumstances, and Maria left to pick up the pieces. The details were murky, but one thing was clear. Maria had been through more than anyone should ever have to endure. Ethan's mind raced with questions. Was the man in the hoodie connected to Carlos? Was Maria in danger? And why had she kept this part of her life hidden from him? Meanwhile, Maria was grappling with her own fears. She had noticed the way Ethan looked at her sometimes, as if he were trying to figure her out. She wanted to trust him, to let him in, but the scars of her past ran deep. She had spent years building walls around herself, protecting Sophia from the chaos that had once consumed her life. The last thing she wanted was to drag someone else into her mess. But as much as she tried to keep her distance, she couldn't deny the growing bond between them. Ethan had shown her a kindness she hadn't known in years, and it was becoming harder and harder to push him away. The tension between them reached a breaking point one night when Ethan finally confronted her. "Maria," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "I need to know the truth. About your past. About Carlos. I got this email and I think you might be in danger." Maria's face paled as she listened, her hands trembling slightly. "Ethan, I didn't want to involve you in this," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's complicated. And dangerous. I thought if I kept my distance, I could protect you." "Protect Sophia." Ethan reached out, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to face this alone," he said. "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together." But before Maria could respond, the sound of breaking glass shattered the silence. They turned to see a brick lying on the floor. The window above it cracked and splintered. Attached to the brick was a note scrawled in bold, angry letters, "Stay out of it or you'll regret it." The message was clear, and the stakes had never been higher. As the story hurtles toward its climax, the questions multiply. Who is behind these threats? What secrets from Maria's past are about to resurface? And how far will Ethan go to protect her and Sophia? The answers lie just beyond the horizon, but for now, the tension is palpable, the danger is real, and the story is far from over. Stay with me because the twists and turns are only just beginning, and the next chapter will leave you breathless. The night of the brick-throwing incident marked a turning point for Ethan and Maria. The threat was no longer abstract, it was real, immediate, and impossible to ignore. Ethan knew he couldn't stand by and let Maria face this danger alone. He insisted on taking her and Sophia to a safe place, a secluded cabin he owned in the mountains. It was far from the city, far from the shadows that seemed to be closing in on them. Maria hesitated at first, torn between her instinct to protect Ethan and her desperation to keep Sophia safe. But in the end, she agreed, realizing that they were stronger together than apart. The days that followed were a strange mix of tension and tenderness. In the quiet solitude of the cabin, Ethan and Maria grew closer than ever. They spent hours talking, sharing stories, and piecing together the fragments of their lives. Ethan learned about the years Maria had spent living in fear, about the nights she had lain awake, listening for the sound of Carlos's footsteps. Maria, in turn, saw a side of Ethan that few ever got to see, the vulnerable, uncertain man behind the confident CEO. They laughed, they cried, and for the first time in a long time, they both felt a sense of hope. But the peace couldn't last. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan's phone buzzed with a call from his security team. They had been investigating the threats, and what they discovered was shocking. The man in the hoodie wasn't just a random thug, he was Carlos's younger brother, Miguel. Carlos, it turned out, hadn't disappeared. He'd been arrested years ago on charges of extortion and money laundering, but his syndicate had continued to operate in secret. Miguel had taken over, and he had been searching for Maria, convinced that she knew something about a hidden stash of money Carlos had left behind. Ethan and Maria knew they couldn't hide forever. They had to confront Miguel to put an end to the danger once and for all. With the help of Ethan's security team, they devised a plan. They would set a trap, using Maria as bait to draw Miguel out. It was risky, but it was the only way to ensure that Sophia would be safe. The night of the confrontation was tense, the air thick with anticipation. Miguel arrived at the cabin, his face twisted with anger and desperation. He demanded to know where the money was, his voice shaking with rage. Maria stood her ground, her voice steady as she told him the truth. She didn't know anything about the money. She had left that life behind and she had no intention of going back. Just as Miguel lunged toward her, Ethan and his team intervened, subduing him and calling the police. The ordeal was over, but the emotional scars would take time to heal. As they watched Miguel being led away in handcuffs, Ethan turned to Maria and took her hand. "You're safe now," he said, his voice filled with relief. "You and Sophia. I promise." Maria looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything." In the weeks that followed, life began to return to a new kind of normal. Ethan helped Maria and Sophia move into a new apartment, a safe and welcoming space where they could start fresh. He also offered to help Maria pursue her dream of becoming a teacher, enrolling her in online classes and providing the support she needed to balance her studies with raising Sophia. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, a testament to the power of love and resilience. But just when it seemed like their story had reached its happy ending, an unexpected twist emerged. One afternoon, as Maria was sorting through old boxes, she found a letter tucked inside. The road ahead would not be easy, but it was theirs to walk. And in that moment, Emma realized that the greatest risk of all was not taking the chance to live, to love, to fight for what mattered most. And she was ready. Ready for whatever came next. Ready to embrace the future, no matter where it led.